time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News as we bring you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. And joining us are Henry Winter, co-host of the Football Boardroom podcast, and Charlotte Dunker, football reporter for The Times. Welcome along to you both. We'll hear from you shortly. Let's quickly run you through the Back Pages as we have them this Tuesday evening. So in The Guardian, they lead on the Champions League Classic between PSG and Bayern Munich. It's almost too tight a finish to make most of the early editions of the papers, but props to the Guardian's team because they managed to splash on the 9-goal thriller that will live long in the memory. It's over to Arsenal now and Atletico Madrid for the other semi-final tie. Mikel Arteta is looking forward to yet another high-pressure, high-reward encounter. At the top, they also cover John Stones, saying that he's achieved his dreams over the years with Manchester City. Yes, he moves on after 10 years at the Etihad. The Stones' exit from City also makes the Daily Star. They report on the fixture pile-up that could yet puncture City's title ambitions. At the very bottom, they also squeeze in the draw between Southampton and Ipswich that puts Kieran McKenna's team in pole position for second place in the Championship. But remember, there are 3 teams that are going for the right to go up alongside Coventry City. Welcome once again to Henry and to Charlotte. I wonder where we should start. Gotta be the Parc des Princes. And you know what? I was just watching the coverage and looking at an atmospheric Parc des Princes. You've both been to it. It's an incredible ground, isn't it? And it really retains the atmosphere. And boy, did those fans get value for money. And well done, The Guardian, for getting in first with their back page. Double for Dembélé and Paris thriller. Paris Saint-Germain 5, Bayern Munich 4. For the neutrals, Henry, absolute manna from heaven, wasn't it? I mean, what did you make of this as entertainment and as a sporting spectacle?
Well, we were only 1 goal away from a scoreline that would have been more suited to Roland Garros over the road. I mean, it was extraordinary. I mean, I'm sure the News UK titles will come along with their first editions. They tend to print slightly later, but I'm sure they'll have it in their first editions. All sports editors will be running on this, and I'm sure it'll run for a couple of days after this. And people might actually make a counterpoint to tomorrow's game between Atletico Madrid and Arsenal. As you say, it was a game for the ages. I mean, you can go to some of the great games in history, whether you want to go to Milan against Liverpool 3-3 in the Champions League final, Brazil against Italy 3-2 in 1982. I mean, there's so many games you can go to. I mean, most recently, Argentina against France in the last World Cup final. I think it's definitely a game you can put up there. I think it will probably recreate or reopen the debate about whether the English should have a winter break, because the French have one for 2 weeks, the Germans have one for 3 weeks, and there's a freshness about their play. But I think it was also a coaching philosophy, which I think maybe we need to adopt a little bit more of here. There was no diving, there wasn't much grappling at corners. Players were getting on with the game. There was a controversial VAR decision, and there was a slight sort of, Harry Kane quite rightly led the slight dispute over it from Bayern's perspective. But otherwise, it was just pace. It was musketeers. It was fantastic to watch, and it's really what football should be about.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more, Henry. The headline in The Guardian, double for Dembélé. Do you know what, though? I mean, couple for Kavisha Kvaratskhelia as well, Charles. I mean, he stood out to me. When you look at him, and then the 2 players pictured there, Dembélé and Doué, I mean, Paris Saint-Germain are so exciting going forward. But do you think that Luis Enrique will be there going, do you know what, though? 5-2 up, and we've let them back in?
Do you know what? I think it was a game where you've seen 2 teams there committed. They stay committed to what they believe in, and that's exciting attacking football. They didn't go 5-2 up and bring off the attackers and shut up shop. They did what they believe is what they know best, and they tried to go and score another goal that they went and they hit the bar after that. So I think as a spectacle, it was so exciting to watch, and it's so refreshing, isn't it? I think we've spent most of this Premier League season talking about how boring it's been, how it's been dominated by set pieces and long throws and slow football and that sort of thing. So to watch a game like that, just absolutely unbelievable. And you talked there about PSG's front line, Bayern's as well, 100 goals between them this season. It's absolutely remarkable. I mean, it was a cricket score, wasn't it? And the most exciting thing is we get to watch it all again next week. And because of the philosophies of both of these managers and the way the team's set up as well, you wouldn't expect it to be any different. I know obviously PSG have that slender lead. You don't expect them to go to Bayern and sit back and defend and think they can just get through with that one goal advantage. So yeah, it was a fantastic advert for the Champions League, probably one of the best games that we've ever seen in that competition. And yeah, what a night of football.
Yeah, and like I say, in just such an incredible venue. I just love the Parc des Princes. In the Sun, Charlotte, by the way, do that all over a cane is the headline. But we should also mention, and Henry alluded to it, that decision, well, a couple of decisions, but particularly the handball that then led to Ousmane Dembele's penalty. I mean, what was your take on that? I didn't see that Alphonso Davies could have done anything else. What did you think?
I thought it was a bit of a nonsense decision, but when we've seen the decisions in the Champions League and the threshold for things like handball in that competition, I wasn't surprised necessarily to see it given. I'm not sure what he was supposed to do with his hand. Obviously, it's hit his thigh and come up off it. So, yeah, I mean, it was a shot, in my opinion, it was a nonsense of a decision. Not surprised to see it given. Glad it wasn't the talking point from the game and that we've had so many fantastic goals and exceptional finishing to talk about rather than sat here debating a dubious VAR decision. But aside from that, there is literally nothing to complain about that game.
Henry, do you think we will get the same kind of blood and thunder next week? Or do you think that, one team might just try and slow down the tempo?
No, I do. I think we'll get exactly the same. I think they'll go for it. I think Charlotte's completely right. I think it's PSG's philosophy. And Bayern Munich, I mean, if you talk to some of their players, they always say, even if we've had a slim defeat away from home, no worries. It's the Thomas Muller philosophy. Wait till we get them back to the Allianz. I mean, one thing you've got to say on the handball, that is a Champions League handball. It's not a Premier League handball, and we're viewing it very much, inevitably, from an English perspective, and maybe having some sympathy for Harry Kane and Alphonso Davies in this. But actually, UEFA will just shrug their shoulders. There was a demonstration a couple of weeks ago by Rossetti, the UEFA head of refereeing, to journalists in London, and that point was slightly highlighted about the sort of the different thresholds for or different tolerance levels for handballs. The Premier League and the PGMO might be saying tonight, well, actually, maybe you'll be slightly nicer to our referees in the future because we wouldn't have given that. Yeah.
No, it's a very good point to make. Well, I guess then the pressure is on both Arsenal and Atletico Madrid as they play at the Metropolitano in their semi-final first leg in the Spanish capital. And if we look at the Mirror, Art's mad for it, so Mikel Arteta and mad for Madrid. And you see a picture of a smiling Arteta there. And again, it was one of those sort of rallying cries of a news conference, Charlotte, that we've seen time and time again. How convinced are you by the messages that he is sending out?
If something makes me think that we're not going to see a 9-goal thriller tomorrow night, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, Arteta, he keeps saying the right things, seems to be saying the right things, the same things over and over again in this press conference. He said he's looking for a statement performance from his side. And really, that's what they need to do, not just to progress in the Champions League, but to just give them that drive, just that extra little bit of spark and motivation for those last few Premier League games to really get them over the line. Obviously, they won at the weekend in the Premier League. It was a great goal from Eze, but it wasn't that much of a convincing performance. So I think they have already beaten Atletico this season convincingly back in October. And I think that was obviously when Arsenal were going for a really good period. They were flying in the Premier League. Everyone was talking about how great they were. They need to go back to that performance, look at what it was that they did and try and get that back. They were so solid defensively. They were ruthless in attack. And that's something that we've not seen from Arteta's side in the last few weeks. So they know how to beat Atletico, although we could look back to this stage of the Champions League last season and say the same about when they faced PSG, because I think they beat them in the group stage and then obviously went and lost to them in the semi-final. So they have got inspiration that they can take from their own team, and Arteta's obviously trying to drive them on. Odegaard's had a few motivational words as well, but yeah, it's a huge game for them tomorrow night.
I guess this challenge is unique though, isn't it, Henry? When you think about the side that Arsenal are facing, on their own home turf. And speaking of which, there's been enough controversy around the pitch at the Metropolitano, hasn't there? If we look at the Star, rain in Spain. Mikel backs Gunners to be pitch perfect in the Star. Look, I think the pitch will not be perfect, will it? Because one, we're bound to have torrential rain. That's what's been forecast. And also the controversy from before. Atletico accused of overwatering it against Tottenham, and then Barca claimed that the grass was too long in their quarter-final. Add to that the psychological pressure that Diego Simeone will be exerting from that home dugout. How on earth does Mikel Arteta manage all of that, Henry?
Well, I think there's going to be meteorological pressure. If I read the back page of the Telegraph, right, Sam Dean, their Arsenal reporter over there, is talking about storms coming in. I don't think it's a storm of headlines. I think it's actually the weather. So they might not actually need to water that famous pitch.
Yes.
I mean, I think Arsenal will look at the team sheet of Atletico, and is Lookman going to be playing? You know, there's sort of doubts over his injury. Obviously, Griezmann will start. Alvarez, there's a slight doubt over him. Obviously, Arsenal have been linked with him. I mean, look, he's on a lot of money there. Whether he would actually move back to England, he's a fabulous player, and he's a type of attacker that Arsenal could do with. So, yeah, pressure on Arteta. But, I mean, you know, if you understand what's going on in the club, and you know, we all do, the support for Arteta from the Cronkies, from the board, is 100%. I mean, you know, his main aim is to get them into the Champions League, then get them a trophy. They're probably ahead of schedule in terms of fourth in the wage bill league, and they're in the semi-final of the Champions League. Charlotte makes a really good point about the two results they've had against Spanish teams in recent years came in the earlier stage when English teams are fresher. So let's hope they go for it. It's also down to Arteta. He's got to release the handbrake a little bit. I hope Eze is fit enough to start, and I don't want to see him on the left. Play him more central in the 10. If that means Odegaard coming off the bench, then fine. But Arsenal have got some good attacking players, and it's just a question of the approach, which we saw tonight. Two coaches, two fantastic philosophies, attack.
Yeah, and you can certainly see a situation here that if Arsenal do play, you know, the way that we know they are able to play, and then you bring off, you bring Martin Odegaard on, and it's about controlling the game. There's barely, any players better who can like really manage the tempo, keep the ball, keep circulating it, really make, tired legs work even harder. Let's go to the Sun, because you mentioned it before there, Henry, about Julian Alvarez. It's on the left of their back page. You'll have to fight. Piece by Joshua Hall. And Diego Simeone dropping this one in the news conference about Arsenal supposedly being interested in the former Manchester City striker. Although, our information is that they aren't willing to sell and that they value him as £130 million. But it seems very deliberate, doesn't it? Designed to unsettle, do you think, Charlotte?
I mean, yeah, he mentioned Arsenal, didn't he, along with Barcelona and I think a couple of other teams as well. He's an excellent attacker. I'm sure any team that is looking to enhance their forward line in the summer is going to look at him and think, oh, how could he improve our team? But you're talking, 100 million, 130 million pounds. Arsenal spent so much money in the summer. This summer, surely they're going to have to offload some players if they're going to want to bring in someone on the wages that Henry mentioned, and also someone who's going to cost in excess of 100 million. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that transfer saga goes in the summer. Has Simeone just dropped it in to unsettle some nerves? I doubt it. It could be added motivation for Alvarez. Does he even want to come back to the Premier League? The suggestion in Spain is that he would want to go to Barcelona if he was going to leave Atletico. So I feel like this is going to be one of the transfer sagas we continue talking about in the summer, but I don't think it's going to cast a cloud over this one tomorrow. Arsenal fans are probably going to be hoping that he doesn't produce some kind of performance that's begging for them to sign him in the summer, and that they can manage to keep him out tomorrow night. Yeah,
a performance for the shop window, I suppose. OK, thanks for the moment. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at more of these sports stories in the morning's papers with Henry and Charlotte. Manchester City are in the news. We'll look at fixture changes that could affect the title race, plus the imminent exit of John Stones. You're watching Back Pages tonight. Welcome back to you at home. Welcome back to Henry Winter, co-host of the Football Boardroom podcast, and Charlotte Dunker, who's a football reporter for The Times. Let's talk Manchester City, shall we? Let's head into the Express. Let's start off with the title race, shall we? Because we know that it is continuing to heat up. Schedule hit City treble bid is on the right-hand side of the Daily Express's back page. A piece by a friend of the show, John Cross, that the Premier League have ignored Manchester City's plea for help on their fixture backlog and what it means. 4 games, 11 days, 3 in 7 as they try and chase down this domestic treble. Is this City crying foul, or do you think it's fair because essentially if they're that successful there in this many competitions, they're going to face a fixture backlog anyway? What's your view on this one, Henry?
Well, 2 things. First, they do have a deep squad, which is what it was piled up for. But also, it is, as you say, it's part of their success. And there's a broader issue here. I'd much rather have the FA Cup as the final game of the season. Obviously, the Champions League, a few years back, moving from a midweek to a Saturday has complicated domestic leagues, particularly in England if they get to the finals. So yeah, it is a huge issue. So yeah, I got some sympathy for Pep, but there's also an element of mind games. This is managers, particularly some like Pep of his experience, will use anything just to sort of create almost a siege mentality. Everyone's against us, an extra motivation, more fuel to the fire of the fans, of the players. Everyone's against us, because actually part of the narrative, apart from if we leave aside the charges that have been levelled at them, which seem to be taking an eternity, is that actually a lot of people would rather Manchester City won the title rather than Arsenal. So maybe he's just trying to sort of balance that and create just a little bit of sort of edge around his team with, well, look, the authorities are against us because look at this fixture pile up.
Yeah, look, obviously that is the kind of, other issue that looms in the background, but it's worth saying, in any case, that Manchester City clearly deny those charges in that legal battle with the Premier League. Let's just look at, these fixtures and where you've got the backlog, because Arsenal also have 3 in 7 days, by the way, it's worth saying, Charlotte, but their backlog comes earlier. Is there an advantage here potentially for Mikel Arteta's side? Because, of course, they play again in the Premier League before Manchester City do. Should they make a good fist of this semi-final first leg against Atletico away, then beat Fulham at home, how much do you feel that is potential momentum changer? Because it's so tight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just impossible to know, isn't it? Because you can talk about them having this psychological advantage because they've already got the points on the board, and then City are going to have to be chasing them. But then you're talking about a team who knows exactly how to win, who's won countless Premier League titles. I know it's a reimagined Manchester City team, but they've still got a manager who knows exactly how to do it. So even if City do go even if they go into the final Premier League game of the season and it's still on the table, then who knows what could happen. But yeah, you're right. So City have got Palace on May the 13th, then they've got the FA Cup final, then they've got Bournemouth away. And I think they've gone to the Premier League and they put their own suggestions to them about when they wanted to play these games. And this is what the Premier League have come back with, which is what City seem to be irked at. I think obviously Palace being in Europe has obviously hampered when these games could be penciled in. But I think the main thing now is that everyone knows where they are. These games have been hanging over, this game in hand, and when is it going to be played? We now know what the running looks like, and both Arteta and Guardiola know exactly what they need to do if they want to win the Premier League title. So we're set for an interesting last few weeks of the season anyway.
Interesting. Biggest understatement in the world. My goodness, it's so fascinating, isn't it? Because all of these are new bits of information. They're new bits of intel that help us try and, work out the picture. With that new info, Henry, who do you think out of the two is favourite to win the Premier League title?
Well, I think the momentum has been with Manchester City since the Arsenal game. You look at the players all over the pitch who are taking responsibility, whether it's Nico O'Reilly, whether it's Ryan Cherky, whether it's Erling Haaland, whether it's Rodri, whether it's players coming off the bench. Pep has got a roadmap for this stage of the season to reach the destination that he knows so well. But it's, Arsenal do have that edge, but they've just got to have that mental edge as well. You need Declan Rice to stand up. Martin Odegaard has got to show that he can be a really, truly elite competitor and a warrior as well as a technician. They've got fantastic players. You look at the two centre-halves. They've probably got about 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 players who will go far into the World Cup this summer. They're good players out there. It's just about the mindset. That's partly the manager and partly the collective. So Arsenal can do it, but City will have to feel they've got momentum with them despite this fixture pile-up.
Back page of the Mirror. Trophy legends. Stones is a serial winner with City. I've achieved my dreams at City. 16 major trophies since joining in 2016 from Everton for just a touch under £15 million, Charlotte. I mean, it's an incredible, decade, isn't it? And if you'd said to John Stones, this is what's going to happen, he would have ripped your arm off. But, I wonder, how much does that sort of, when he looks back at his time at City, of course, he's been plagued by injuries, hasn't played quite as much. He was a definite, first team, starter. And then, there've been others that have come in. How would he sort of, reconcile the two of those things?
I think he'll go down as probably one of the greatest players to ever play for the club. Nearly 300 appearances, 6 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups, Champions League, part of the treble winning squad. And what a career he's had at Manchester City. You're right in terms of the injuries. I'm sure he'd be frustrated by the injuries he's picked up, and especially this season, it's curtailed the amount of games that he has been able to start for the club. So of course that's going to be a disappointment. But you watch the video when he announces that he's leaving, he's emotional, that he's got a special bond with the club. He's won everything there is to win there, and what an exceptional career he's had there. So I don't think he can look back at it and be disappointed about the injuries he's picked up, and probably would have wanted to play more games. But yeah, the achievement and the success that he's had there and the player that he's become under Pep Guardiola has been absolutely fantastic.
Still got lots to offer the game, Henry. Where do you see him heading next?
Well, he's 31, free agent. I think if he drops maybe some of his wages, because anyone who knows John knows that he wants to play. I mean, will he go abroad, get a bit of sunshine, take his family there? I mean, he could go to MLS. I mean, there'll be options for him over here. I mean, he's 31. I mean, we were celebrating Casemiro last night. He's sort of 34. Teddy Sheringham played until he was 41, 42. Modric is still playing at 40. I mean, Milner, Brighton, 40. This does happen. Drogba went back to Chelsea in his 30s. So yeah, absolutely, you want him to play as long as he can. And I mean, Charlotte's right. He is a great of Manchester City. I mean, City fans will remember the clearance off the line, the overhead. Well, sorry, not the overhead, but he just scooped the ball off the line against Liverpool, and that was a key moment, I think, at 0-0 with Liverpool pressing hard. And, the goal he scored against Arsenal as well. I thought he was outstanding against Inter Milan in the Champions League final when City did the treble. He was playing in midfield then, Rolls Royce of a centre-half, but can play well in midfield. And absolutely, that if he is fit, he will go to the World Cup and he'll start every game alongside Gay. But that's the issue. We just want to see him fit more often, because he's an absolutely fantastic centre-half and attacking centre-half when fit.
Charlotte, just to finish with you on what we've heard from IFAB and the red cards that could be introduced for covering your mouth when you're in confrontation with the player and also leaving the field of the pitch in protest to a referee's decision. You've got about sort of like 30 seconds or so. What is your take on that?
Yeah, obviously the red card in terms of approaching opposition player, I think it's come off the back of the abuse that Vinicius received because the Benfica player put his shirt over his mouth. So I can understand where that's coming from. And obviously we all saw what happened in the AFCON final in terms of players leaving the pitch when they weren't happy with the referee's decision. At the minute, there's no suggestion that either of these laws are going to filter their way down into the domestic game. So it'll be interesting to see. There's going to be plenty of talking points at this World Cup in the summer. It'll be interesting to see if either of these new rules that have been brought in make it into those talking points.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Henry and Charlotte. We'll speak to you again soon, I'm very sure. If you managed to miss any of the show, another chance to see Back Pages tonight, 1:30. Also available as a podcast. Just download Back Pages wherever you get your pods. Don't